Greetings, onliners, and welcome to this week's video follow-up of the discussion board from the last week's session. Last week, you were asked to talk a little bit about barriers to entry, and the example that was given in the discussion board question was the airline industry, and as an example of an industry that has a great deal of barriers to entry. And many of you spoke very eloquently on the barriers to entry. Now, I think that obviously the biggest barrier to entry that would be involved in the airline industry is the fact that not many of us have millions of dollars lying around for the purchase of an aircraft. Not the least of which is also the salary costs of running an airline, the dollars and the special skill sets that are necessary to keep an airline going. So basically, I wanted to kind of clarify a little bit. Barriers to entry is the natural defenses, if you will, of a business for having too many people enter the industry and thereby diluting the number of products out there and reducing the overall value of the product. Airlines are a good example because it does take so much to start an airline and have an airline be available to carry passengers, whatnot. So that is some price protection. Some other industries that have a high barrier to entry, or anything that requires a large investment up front. Ownership of a professional athletics organization, a football or a baseball team or a basketball team. These are obviously the big upfront costs that not everybody can do to enter into an industry. This protects the industry from being diluted with inferior products and therefore reducing the overall value of that industry. Now, the flip side to that is, are there industries out there that would have low barriers to entry, or opportunities for anybody who wanted to get a startup going could do so? Service industries are like this. Consulting businesses, for instance, financial services, for instance, is one where an individual's only barrier to entry would be the being able to complete and pass a licensure exam and to associate themselves with certain providers of product where they could go out and sell insurance or financial products. I have had many friends who have entered into the industry of insurance sales and financial services and actually run profitable businesses from their homes, having associated themselves with various insurance agencies and becoming an independent agent. Other retail type barriers to entry are difficult because of the fact that you have to buy inventory. But there are things like, for instance, cottage industries like Mary Kay or Premier Jewelry, two not only good agencies that have produced opportunities for people to own their own businesses and have relatively low barriers to entry, but also two companies that are run on the basis of Christian values by two Christian families that started, the Horners, who started Premier Jewelry, and of course Mary Kay herself, who started what is now a worldwide empire of cosmetics. And these are low barriers to entry in that they did have to buy some inventory, go through some training, but anybody who had the desire to enter into that kind of business could. So barriers to entry basically are a natural defense mechanism that is out there in some industries to protect the actual number of people participating in the industry itself, and therefore maintaining the value of that industry as it continues to go on through doing business. Okay. I wanted to also follow up on you. Y'all did fantastic jobs on the exams, and the first exam seemed to get through it pretty well. One thing I want to kind of lay out there as a caution is, please be sure that when you're taking your exam, if at all possible, that you are connected to your server via a wired connection. that some of you found out the hard way, any interruption in your Wi-Fi connection can cause the system to shut down and turn in for you whatever you've done in the exam thus far and not let you back in. If you call me or send me an email, I can reset it, but you will have to retake the entire exam, as a couple of you found out. So be sure that when you're taking these exams or doing anything online that is for a grade, like an exam through Blackboard, do everything you can to make sure that you're connected to your server through a connected, hardwired connection to your service, so that you don't run the opportunity of having any kind of little hiccup in your Wi-Fi causing your test to be turned in early when you're only about halfway through. Well, we've done about everything we're going to do. Now we're going to just repeat the cycle. So at this point, we've gone through several chapters. We've had an exam. We've had discussion board posts and great discussion back and forth on the subject. You've turned in a written assignment. Looking long term, we're going to do this 3 more times. We're going to have 3 more exams and 3 more written assignments coming up for the rest of the semester. But I also do not want you to lose sight of the fact that there are 2 major papers that will be due by the end of the semester. The first one is the interview with the manager paper. And this paper is outlined, or at least described, in the syllabus. It is at least a 5-page paper where you're going to identify a manager of your choosing and interview them with questions that you derive from our subject matter. So come up with anywhere from 5 to 10, 15 questions and sit down with somebody and interview them. The paper will be a summary of that interview. It is due by the end of the review week, just prior to the final exam. The second paper is your service learning paper. This paper is going to be at least a 2-page paper that should be descriptive of an experience that you had doing some type of service. Now, this can be service on campus. This could be participating in a service activity of your fraternity or sorority or on-campus group. It could be teaching Sunday school or being a counselor at church camp. Anything that pertains to being able to put your faith and your business knowledge out there in the form of volunteer service. Then write at least a 2-page paper summarizing the experience that you've had. Had some great papers turned in the past from working with various ministries, volunteering with groups like Mission Arlington or the food bank. Had a really awesome paper turned in the winter class of someone who works with the Humane Society and animal rescue. So all of these are some good examples of the kind of things that we'll be looking for in the papers. Keep up your good work, and we'll see you next week on the video. Bye now.